Welcome to Bare Bones. With your host, Danny Meehan and Dr. Mason West.
Welcome in, Bears fans, to this episode of Bare Bones. As always, I am Mason West and co-host Danny Meehan here with me today. Danny, how you doing?
I'm good, Mason. Just, kind of taking in what the remnants of the draft were, along with the vaunted schedule release that everyone just has to know when we get leaks. And it's, for me, I get people got to make their travel arrangements, look at buying their tickets, et cetera, et cetera. I don't give a damn. I already know who they're playing.
I'm the lame-o that, I don't travel ever for games. I just, I have other things I'm spending my money on. Would it be cool if I could pop to Vegas, pop to Baltimore, whatever? Sure. But that's just not happening. So instead, I like some of the videos. Like the Chargers always crush it, right? They do a good job.
The Chargers killed it. I actually really enjoyed, was it the Buffalo Bills? You need to do AI, and they actually get Allen Iverson to just show them a paper schedule or whatever.
Yeah, Louis held it up and I was like, yeah, here it is. I'm just going to read it to you. Here's the schedule. They had a good one. Atlanta sucked. That was bad. I don't think the Jets even had one.
I know the Colts got in trouble for the police brutality Tyreek Hill faced, but he even said, it was funny.
Yeah. But as a part of the schedule overreaction, because, we have to, we're going to look at, talk about, and give our way too early, win-loss prediction for the schedule, because we know exactly what's going to happen, obviously.
Yeah.
Just because, look, I wasn't going to talk about it because I think it's a stupid non-story, but because it was tweeted about, we are going to very briefly talk about that ESPN article. Danny, what are your 10 seconds of thoughts?
We kind of already knew that, didn't we?
Yeah, pretty much.
And now you get the weird people on the timeline again saying how Carl Williams is this bad dad. No, he gave up his life to make sure his son had the best chance at making it to the NFL. Of course, he's going to look for the path of least resistance. And honestly, do we actually blame them? You are what everything shows you are until proven otherwise. They have ruined quarterback after quarterback after quarterback and put a masterclass on in doing so. And they have had one above 500 season in the last 12 years. This isn't groundbreaking stuff.
No.
This is a father looking out for his child's best interest. And at the end of the day, what did it say at the end of the article? Caleb met with the superiors and the coaching staff and was like, I think I can do this in Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who wants to, who of us is going to go and sign up with a bottom tier, not very good company, right? And no one wants to do that for the most part. Everyone wants these athletes to be, gee willikers, I'm going to, drag this not great team up by the bootstraps. It's just, who cares? He wanted to go somewhere that was fun. Yeah, they mentioned the Vikings, I think. Yes, who wouldn't want to play with Kevin O'Connell at the time? And also who wouldn't want to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson, whatever. We all knew this was the thing. I just retweeted this. If you had been following Taylor Dahl, right, who has the show Making Monsters, she talked about the whole not watching film with Shane Waldron and all that way before. So this isn't new news. And like you said, the only thing really to take from it is when Caleb told his dad, ultimately, I can do it for this team. I'm going to go to the Bears. Great. End of story. Stupid.
Yeah, if anything, it's you being in your feelings that what is the offseason is the time of optimism and the glass is never empty or half full or half empty or whatever. The long and the short of it is the Bears are one of the worst run organizations in the sport right now until proven otherwise. This isn't earth-shattering, groundbreaking stuff. I don't know why people are getting so mad about it.
I couldn't tell you. It's very odd. I mean, we want to pretend like the Bears are this. No, it's again, it's a waste of time. I'm not talking about this anymore. We're moving on. Schedule talk, because at least that's we can just kind of look ahead to football. Because right now, I think I got in a debate in the chat that you and I are in with a bunch of people. It talks about I think May sucks for football because there's basically the schedule release and nothing else. And if people
it's a nothing. It's a nothing burger.
Thank
just
you.
Go out per day.
Just I know the NFL tries to dominate.
And I'm not trying to shit on people who get excited about the schedule release. Like, it's just not my thing. And if you were really like that upset about it, go pet your dog or something. I don't know. Like, my opinion on it being stupid shouldn't get you all hot and bothered by the fact that you love it for some strange reason.
Like, well, and here's the thing. There are a couple nuggets we can take from the schedule, which we'll talk about as we go through this, because it'll be like, how many home games, or where are the home games? Where are the away games? Where's the bye? What are the, Monday night to Sunday night? So that matters.
To your opinion, or not to your opinion, to your point, circadian rhythms are a thing.
Yeah.
How you travel, where you travel, when it happens, how it happens, that of course matters. But I still know the opponents. The air miles traveled is still the same because I knew who the away and the home opponents were anyway. It's just like the time frame of it. But that, again, have your fun. I actually thought the Bears schedule release video was entertaining.
Yeah, it was solid.
But I thought I enjoyed the New Girl show. So
didn't watch a single second of it, so I definitely had to double check who the heck that was. But I liked the other Chicago personalities. I liked that Ben Johnson was a focal point because that's what this last offseason was, right? It's been the spring of Ben, as if you want to have your whole George Costanza, Summer of George kind of connection there. Yeah, we're going to talk about the schedule. Like I said, we'll talk about some of the games in terms of which ones we're excited about, which ones might be troublesome because of how or where they're scheduled. And then, like I said, just throw out our current gut thought process on what it might be win-loss. So preseason, I had that up here just because it was easier. Is interesting that the Dolphins one is not technically scheduled yet for the very first one. Not sure why that's the case. But you get to play the Bills and the Chiefs again like they do every dang offseason.
Hooray.
I am curious if they'll end up doing like joint practices. And if they do, I would think that either be Dolphins or Bills. Ben Johnson didn't really say specifically either way if that's going to happen. So that'll be
the Dolphins would make sense given the entirety of his like assistant coaching tenure until Detroit would have been spent in Miami.
Yeah. So there should be some connection there. But to the regular season.
I believe Chris Greer, the GM, was there when he was there.
Sure. I believe you. Regular season. So open up with a bang. Monday night, September 8th against the Vikings, 7:15 p.m. on ABC and ESPN. Pretty cool. I mean, it's a home game. I'm not a big Monday night football person for my particular team just because I like to go to bed early and have to wake up at like 4 a.m. But I mean, it's cool that the NFL thinks it's important enough to throw up there.
Yeah, it is really cool, and it's one of those things like you, Mason, my alarm goes off at like 4:15. Like, I don't like Monday night football games. Like, I'll maybe watch 2 half, and then I'll turn off. If it's not the Bears, at least I'll turn it off at halftime. But yeah, it's an exciting game nonetheless because Vikings have been good under Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. You're going to get to see J.J. McCarthy in his homecoming, probably in his first start, in a raucous crowd against the Bears with the Prince who was crowned and Caleb Williams playing his first game under Ben Johnson. Like, what else could you want?
Yeah, and I think it is a important game in that obviously, every opening game is important, but you're going up against a defense with Flores that is a tougher one, obviously divisional opponent. It really is a set the tone for the season kind of thing. And like you talked about, I mean, it's JJ's first start. I think he threw a total of like 17 passes in preseason last year before he got hurt. So you really should have an advantage, even though Kevin O'Connell's on the other side.
His injury was a meniscus rupture, right?
Meniscus, and they had to go back in. That's the thing. He had a setback. He didn't play a lot of football even behind the scenes. So I would be disappointed if they didn't. And actually, so just going. Oh, and one more thing too. If you look, Brett Coleman had retweeted this or had this back in January, so I retweeted it yesterday. In the last 2 seasons combined, Brian Flores' defense has only allowed 30 points just 7 times. Ben Johnson is responsible for 4 of them. So,
Ben Johnson has traditionally put, Brian Flores' defense in a blender.
So when you take all that into consideration, I believe this should be an opening night win. So I'm putting a W for.
So before we start getting into prediction mode here, anything like less than, I think, 9 wins is like unacceptable. Your job is to win fucking games this year. Like, the expectation should be to win an opening night in front of your own fans. You got the golden goose quarterback prospect. You got the most highly sought after coaching prospect I can remember, maybe since like Adam Gase was coming out of the scene and the Dolphins hired him away from the Bears. Like, there's no more excuses. And I can already see it now if something goes awry. And it's just like, hold them to a standard. I don't want to hear any more about tanking, which I don't think we will this year, barring something unforeseen. None of it, guys. Like, just expect wins. We're at that point. We should expect to see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that's where I know you and I differ on this, because I'm looking at it more like, do I expect, looking at the schedule, looking at what the team is, all that jazz, they should win, like you said, around at least 9 games? Yeah, absolutely. However, I also know crazy stuff happens. It's the NFL. Like, if God forbid, knock on some wood that's over here, Caleb goes down and you're now starting Tyson Bagent, you're hoping you're going 500 in that time period. If you have, Jonah Jackson go down with an injury. If you're in a shootout with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and you lose because Lamar just happens to have the ball last, I'm not gonna be upset about that.
Yeah,
if you lose to the Browns and you lose to the
I was gonna say losing to the Ravens, losing to the Ravens though is different. You're talking about for my money, the guy who's playing the position of quarterback best in the league right now, and John Harbaugh, who's awesome. Like, and I think my money, there's no organization better run in the NFL than Baltimore.
Yeah, and I think they have a crazy 4th place schedule, in my opinion. We're obviously going to get into this as we continue through it. It's not, to me, it doesn't feel 4th placey, and because of that, that's why I'm like, if you walked out with 7 or 8 wins and there's little bullet points and you're like, you know what, I get why they got 7 instead of 9. Like, that's why I'm not ready to make that the statement you made. But I could see a scenario where they have 7 wins only, and I'm like, okay, that's bullshit. That's a ridiculous 7 wins. You should have had more.
Mm-hmm.
And so what did you have? Oh, I put this in the wrong spot for the visual people.
I was going to say, we're predicting the meaningless preseason.
Hey, Bears are going to go 3-0 in the preseason. They tend to do well in the preseason. What did you have for the Monday night game against the Vikings?
I think that they're going to win against the Vikings.
Yay. All right, so Dan and I both have wins. Moving on. You go double dip in the division. Now you're going to go on the road to Detroit for a Sunday afternoon game at noon at Fox. I'm surprised this game going, especially to Detroit, wasn't a primetime game. Like, I don't need a bunch of primetime games. I just really thought the NFL would have been like salivating over.
Would you be shocked if they like flexed it to the 325 spot? Like, I don't know if they can even. Like, I don't know the schedule.
The rules are like, I'm not great at the rules. I don't think you can flex it until later in the season.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, then I guess I'm with you. But I would say, for giving predictions, I would guess they probably lose a close one, just because Detroit is. Yes, they had a lot of brain drain, but if you look at the roster, it's just a good football team.
I kind of wonder if, to your point, if Ben Johnson and the team go in there all hot and bothered, just because they want to get this win for their coach, all that jazz. But at the same time, you have to look at the other side of it. I mean, Dan Campbell and that whole team is peak. Let's emotion. Let's win one for the Gipper. That whole kind of thing. So I think they're going to be firing on all cylinders to try to win this game. I would also agree. I'm going to put this as a loss. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout or anything. I just think it's one of those like emotional games that the Lions are
Right.
kind of set up to win. Going back home, Sunday, September 21st, Cowboys. This one is the later slot, 3:25 p.m. as the Cowboys tend to do on Fox. This is an interesting one because I don't know that the Cowboys are necessarily good, but whenever you have Dak, whenever you have CD, I don't count them out. But at the same time, the Schottenheimer hire was uninspired. Their draft was like solid, but like just kind of that's all it was. They didn't do almost anything in free agency. A lot of trades, and of course they added George Pickens. But
yeah, I was gonna say they added the walking crash out.
Yeah, I mean, as we know very well, and I've said this before.
Man, I think this Cowboy season could go sideways in a hurry.
If I told you in December, either they have a chance to make the playoffs because they're second in the division and they have a chance to make the playoffs, or I told you B, they're in December, they have 3 wins. I don't think I'd be surprised either way.
I don't think I'd be surprised either way. The thing I do wonder, and it's because of Pickens, and I'll always defer back to if Tomlin's getting rid of this talented player, heed the warning kind of thing. Like, and he was getting the lion's share of the targets last year. He's not getting them this year. And Mike Tomlin couldn't wrangle him. You think Brian Schottenheimer is going to be able to calm that man down? Come on. I think they win this game. And I think if the Bears are who we are believing them to be this season, especially given the offseason they had with hiring Ben Johnson, revamping the entirety of the offensive, or 80, what I would believe will end up being 80% of the offensive line when it's all said and done. Adding Luther Burden. I'm assuming they're going to add a running back that's going to be your more of a bell cow between the tackles type going forward. You should handle Dallas.
Yeah, and I know I was listening to Cameron. I was listening to Hogan Jones. That's what I was listening to. And a point was brought up, like, Fluke's revenge game. Also, more importantly, Jack Sanborn revenge game. But in the past, right, and I think for all Fluke's issues, hence why he's not here, he actually did fairly well defensively against Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson's been on the record saying that Eberflus's defense, is something that's tough. On the contrary, the Cowboys don't really have a lot of heft up the middle, right? And that's a problem for.
And they didn't address it
at all, at all.
Like, unless Maisie Smith becomes something he hasn't been to this point. Like, he's enormous, and I know he's a freak. Like, I remember the stories of him coming out of Ann Arbor, where it's like, this dude does things at his size you shouldn't be able to do, but it hasn't translated to anything. Like, he's just kind of a big person.
No, so when you combine all that with the fact that I do think, like, so if you hadn't done anything to the line, let's say the offensive line was a healthy Braxton Jones, was Tevin Jenkins, was who was that bad Packers center that got signed this offseason? He was
the one that they signed away, Josh Myers?
Josh Myers. Let's say you brought Josh Myers in. I don't know.
Am I making that up? Is Josh Myers the wrong player?
We're going to go with him. You did what the Bears tended to do previously at center, where you got a bad one. If basically, like I'm saying, like, you didn't really do much on the offensive line. The addition of Ben Johnson, though, and his blocking schemes and what he's been able to do there already would have made a not great unit more passable. But you didn't do that. You went and you got Tooney, who is an all-pro guard. You went and you got Jackson, who had his best season with Ben Johnson previously in Detroit and got paid, by the Rams. And honestly, he just got Wally pipped. He had a shoulder and scapular fracture that tried playing through, couldn't. And so it's kind of hard to block people with a, broken scapula. So I expect to bounce back. But yeah, so like when you combine all that together, the line's going to be much better. All the things that you mentioned, I have a hard time believing that the Bears are not going to be able to outduel the Cowboys in this one. Long story short, so I have a win as well.
Yeah, but did you catch what I said? That they're going to be starting 80% of a new line. I think Ozzie Capello is going to start at left tackle.
If you put a gun to my head and ask me who is starting tackles, I would say Trapillo and Wright.
Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take anymore,
No,
especially
no.
when everyone started catching like what Brandon Thorne was. I think he was Thorne's number 5 rated offensive tackle in the draft, or number 5 or 4.
Oh, and by the way, confirmed by both Luther Vandross as well as Dobbsy34 in the chat. Yeah, Josh Myers was the Jets this offseason, and yeah, he was Justin Fields center at Ohio State. That was who we were talking about. We were right. Next, week 4, Sunday, September 28th at Las Vegas. Another late afternoon game. I hate afternoon games. All my noon games. So this one, right, if you want to make it a weird revenge game where the Raiders thought they had Ben Johnson in the bag and then settled for Pete Carroll, but they'll tell you they always wanted Pete Carroll. Definitely, obviously, a better team, right? You got Geno Smith there. You got Ashton Genty there. Didn't substantially improve their wide receiver core. It's just basically Brock Bowers and then people. Nothing much to speak of their defense at all besides Max Crosby. They should win this. As simple as that. I don't see enough for me to think they wouldn't.
I think they should win it too. And I think Pete, when it's all said and done, whether he coaches 3 more years or 5 more years, because I know he signed a 3-year deal, whenever he's done in Las Vegas, he will have left them in a better spot than when he inherited them. He's a good football coach. He's a culture-changing coach.
Yeah, and this is the kind of game that I think a previous Bears, the Eberflus team or the Matt Nagy team even, loses. But I'm truly believe, just based off what we saw, the little we saw so far with Ben Johnson, that this should be a game that you get Geno to be uncomfortable and you stop the run and you should win this game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so in theory, going into the bye, which also week 5 bye is just disgusting. I hate that so much. We both have them 3-1.
I like late season buys personally, but
I mean, yeah, if you have to either go early or late, I prefer late. I mean, just the fact that you're only playing 4 of your 17 games, that's a lot of football after this.
That's a lot of attrition, man.
It's a violent game. Just having to play that many in a row, and I believe between weeks 4 and 14, 7 of your games are also on the road. I mean, that's a lot.
Better have trust in your new training staff.
Yeah, I don't. So we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna get back into it. All right, we're back. So, boom. We're now looking at the gauntlet. I'm saying gauntlet just because it's just long between week 6 and 18 that the Bears will be playing coming up here. So you come out of the bye, which the Bears have traditionally not been a great bye team. This is not a secret to anyone. At Washington, Monday Night Football, trying to redemption for the fail Mary. Pretty much we know that Caleb and Jaden Daniels are going to be attached at the hip for a while.
Yeah. I think I don't want to say this in a way that sounds super degrading to the Commanders football team, but I don't think they're as good as what they showed last year. I think they won games in a myriad of ways where the regression monster comes in a really ugly way to those teams that typically win the way they won last year. I think Jaden's really good. But if you objectively, I think, look at that roster, can you look at the defensive side of the ball and say you fixed the issues you had? Because scoring points was not their problem.
No, I mean, they basically brought the band back together. They're big ads. They brought in Javon Kinlaw and Dietrich Wise in the middle. They brought Jacob Martin and Eddie Goldman, right, former Bears, to play on that line. And then they drafted Trey Amos to basically be a backup cornerback. Like that's all you did on defense, and you brought back.
Didn't I say with you losing like Dante Fowler and stuff, like you objectively kind of worse on defense?
I would 100% agree with that. And then in terms of on offense, which it's a lot of Jaden Daniels scramble and magic.
You
basically
Jaden
just
Daniels
brought,
do something.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels do a thing. You brought back Noah Brown, and then you brought in the corpse of Michael Gallup, and you brought back in Debo, and Laremy Tunsil, and you're just really and drafted Josh Connolly, and you're really hoping Debo can stay healthy.
And that's the other part. When Debo was healthy last year, he looked slow. Like, they gave you him for like a bag of cookies. Like, thanks. Thanks for taking the money.
And as upsetting as that game was against the Commanders, the Bears offense was atrocious in that game. Atrocious. And you still had a chance to win it and only lost because your defensive head coach just didn't play it right, and because the whole stuff, like that. So I start color me unimpressed.
I think they win this game. I think it'll be close because I think Jaden Daniels, while I think he's rather flawed in that he doesn't really attack the middle of the field super well, and a lot of it feels like he's just doing stuff. I think the things he does very well, he is elite at, like the short accuracy in the passing game. Like when the ball has to be out, the ball is out. The guy makes great decisions. He reads the field well. The feet, like he's a good, if not very good quarterback. Do I think he's potentially limited because of his flaws? Yes, but for right now, you have to operate as though he is one of them ones, based off what we know.
And I think that's totally fair. So actually, I have a patient who's a Commanders fan. We had a whole conversation today about it, and we were talking about the schedule. And he's like, he said he had a confidence of 3 out of 10 that they beat the Bears this year. So it's not. I'm not trying to make this be a homer thing. We're just going to pick them to win a bunch of games. Like there was a bit of magic last year, and there's probably going to be some regression to the mean for the Jaden Daniels-ness of it all, and the stuff around him is just not that exciting. That's the thing. It's not a great team.
Nope.
So wins for both of us. All right, back home. Sunday, October 19th, Saints come to town at noon.
With how we're both picking, this just feels like a trap game. I'm going to pick them to win because I think the Saints are just in hell at this moment. Like, they're probably going to be starting Tyler Shuck.
I like Tyler Shaw in a weird way, but like not in a like I want you as my quarterback way, more in a like you're kind of fun way.
And I would probably honestly, if I were Kellen Moore, I think Spencer Rattler's a better talent on the physical side. I would probably try him out first, but he's not going to. Tyler Shuck's probably going to start the games for him. I mean, he's a 25-year-old rookie. What do you do here? You kind of have to play.
And, the Saints started off super hot last year, obviously. People were pining and upset because the Bears didn't hire, who they had for their offensive coordinator for a while there, and then they fell off a dang cliff. They drafted Kelvin Banks. They brought in Brandon Cooks and also brought in Dylan Raduns. I always mess his name up.
Raduns.
Thank you. You have an older Alvin Kamara, and then the rest is kind of the same. Can Chris Olave be healthy? Is he going to be in this game? He's getting his head knocked off. And then on defense, you no longer have Dennis Allen. So do you have a drop off there? And even then, like their defense is on the older side too. Besides a couple guys like Kool-Aid McKinstry, things of that nature.
I'm not going to say it, but they're in rebuild mode.
But so I think they're in rebuild mode because they need to be in rebuild mode. But are they going to act at any point like they're in rebuild mode?
Mickey Loomis, I don't think, knows how to.
Like, it's just constant kicking the can down the road, like over and over and over again. I'm going to say win just because one of these games that should be a win is going to be a loss, right? Whether it's the Saints or one of these other ones. I can't say that here. It's just that
we're obviously factoring in being the 3-peat off-season champions, hiring Ben Johnson, all that fun stuff. But now I think this one's next for me is easy.
Ooh,
I think Baltimore might have them in a blunder.
I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to put a loss here too. It's just a damn good team between Lamar, Derrick Henry, well coached. All the positive
John
things.
Harbaugh, yeah.
Do you know this is Lamar's first time playing the Bears in his career?
It is because I was supposed for my bachelor party gift from my groomsmen was actually tickets to go see Bears Ravens a few years ago.
The 2021 game, right?
And
then Tyler Huntley played.
Tyler Huntley played and Justin didn't play. So it was like Tyler Huntley versus, was it Andy Dalton? Like it was like this or Justin got hurt or something. Like I ended up not seeing either of the two guys I really wanted to see.
So I remember this was when I was with Chicago Audible and I was up in the presser box. And I remember, I probably shouldn't say this, but I remember putting like all the unders for Lamar because I just saw he wasn't out there. So I was like, okay, well, he's probably not playing. And they also didn't get rid of my my bet, so it was great. But yeah, so it's Tyler Huntley. Yes, here we go. So Justin Fields only threw 11 passes total. Andy Dalton threw 23. So I believe he got hurt. Justin got hurt.
Yeah, Justin got hurt in like the second quarter or something.
Yep. And this was also when like the Ravens were using Tyler Huntley, Devonta Freeman at the time, Sammy Watkins, Devin Duvernay, and a not very healthy, not very good Rashad Bateman. Like they had like 6 guys out, and the Bears still couldn't win that game.
Right. And now we have a healthy Rashad Bateman who looks to have turned a corner last year.
Finally, all of my dynasty value in Rashad Bateman might finally be coming
I have been
through.
like Rashad Bateman stan since like his sophomore year at Minnesota when he couldn't even declare. I'm like, who is this dude who every catch he has is like for 25 yards? Why is this happening?
So yes, I think pretty straightforward, pretty simple. The Bears might be potentially on the up and up, right? We had them at 5-1 before this game, but there's a different class, and the Ravens were it. Then you go to another away game, staying in that AFC North, Sunday, November 12th at Cincinnati, another noon game on CBS. What are your thoughts on this game?
This one's a toss-up just because that offense in Cincinnati, as long as Burrow is Burrow, like I think they're going to be a really hard team to beat, especially because we don't know how good the Bears defense really is. Like, they seem to be ascending, and then they laid down at the back end of last year. And I don't know how good to expect Montez Sweat to be. Like, there's a lot of working parts in it. Yeah. I would probably say they lose this game at this point.
So the Bengals you can't really name too many people on that Bengals defense, which isn't everything.
No, they're a glass cannon.
People struggle with that, and their current best defender, was in his golf clothes and basically said, "You're poking a shark, and you won't talk to me," and all the crazy things that are going on right now with Trey Hendrickson. So It's not a good defense, but in a shootout, especially with what we know combined with what we don't know, I mean, I'm going to take Joe Burrow.
Right.
I know what that offense can do. And if you end up having to put up who's the first a race to 40, I'm going with Joe Cool.
Yeah. They're a glass cannon. They're a lot like the early season Rams were last year, where it's like if they're not going to stop you, but they're going to put up points. And then McVay did his McVay thing, and basically
McVay continues to McVay. He's nuts.
Yeah, he's amazing.
All right, so you get 2 losses in a row taking on the AFC North, but then you get to go back home Sunday, November 9th, a game against the New York Football Giants at noon on Fox.
I bet you they shellac this team. I think this could be the week where if it goes the way it theoretically could, they might clean house in season. Have you looked at the beginning of the Giants season?
I'm literally about to pull it up because I don't know.
They're trying to get Dable fired as fast as possible.
Okay, here we go. So I have pulled it up just so I'll read it for the listeners. So the Giants start Commanders, Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers, Saints, Eagles, Broncos, Eagles again, 49ers. Oh my God.
They're trying to get Brian Dable fired.
Dear Lord. It's like, get out of our league is basically just what they're yelling at him. That's
so
okay.
My prediction is going to be if the season for the Giants goes the way I think it could go, if the Bears do to them what I expect them to do to them, that could be the last game Brian Dable coaches as head coach of the New York Football Giants.
Remember last year where like the Bears basically when they did win games at the beginning of the year continuously end with like coaches getting fired or just things happening. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. The Giants are they have a good defensive line. That's great. But I expect by this point, Jackson Dart could be starting. And outside of Malik Neighbors,
they can't start Russ, can they?
They absolutely can. They totally
saw
can.
the Russ thing last year. It was just like 50-50 balls to pigeon man and hoping and praying.
Couldn't you do that same thing though to Malik Neighbors? Just like go down. Malik's down there somewhere.
Malik's not the same kind of receiver. Malik's better, like handily better, but the one thing Pickens is elite at, I don't think is the same thing as Malik.
No, they are two very different receivers. I think that both Russ or Jameis Winston, however you want to paint it, could very much just chuck the ball to Malik and Malik can feast, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I just don't expect Jackson Dart to start. I don't know, first 4 or 5 weeks. Kind of depends how it goes, but I don't think he's starting week 1.
They are the New York Football Giants are the 2021 Chicago Bears this year.
Oh, that's not bad. So yeah, that's a bad team overall. Yes, you have Abdul Carter now. Yes, you obviously have Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns. I mean, that's really nice. I just think they're going to have a hard time scoring points, even if Danny's son, Cam Scadaboo, is on the team.
Don't do that to me.
So close to having him. I was, I was like literally picturing your reaction when I thought he'd
and he's wearing 44, Mason. He's wearing 44.
He is your soul.
I have no soul.
All right, moving on. Sunday, November 16th at Minnesota, noon on Fox. This is interesting because now you get into the whole, like, how do you think about potentially splitting divisional games and all that jazz? Yeah. So you're going to have a loss here?
I think they're going to split. I think the reason I think they're going to an opening night is because Ben Johnson it's the kitchen sink game. No one knows what to expect. It's a brand new offense. The first week, you'll have had literally all offseason to game plan for this game. Do I think they're going to get their ass beat? No, but I think that they could lose.
So why do they win this game? Like, what does Minnesota do that allows them to win?
I just think it's a good football team winning a game. That's all.
Yeah. So here's my thing. I think the Bears are going to be like a 9-win team. So in general, so I'll see if through this exercise, if I end up there, because I really haven't put any pre-thought into this.
Neither have I. We're doing this off the cuff,
which is way more fun. So I'm trying to get some losses here, to be quite honest. So I'm trying to talk myself into how Minnesota wins this game.
I mean, to be fair, we have 6 wins already.
The answer, I guess, to me is, I have way too many wins at this point. The answer to me is JJ gets enough reps under his belt where he is comfortable. Kevin O'Connell kind of does the Sean McVay, the thing he did with Jared Goff, where he basically just tells him, go here, point the gun kind of thing.
Point and shoot.
Yeah, just click, point and shoot. And, you have a Justin Jefferson goes off game and Flores has enough magic that they get away just into how this game ends up in a loss.
Yeah, and believe it or not, they're just a better football team at the moment than the Bears are. And that's okay to say. Like, they've won, 27 games in the last 2 years or something like that?
And we have to remember that they were a very good, one of the top 3 team, at least record-wise, last year with Sam Darnold, who was an abject failure pretty much everywhere else he was. So if Kevin O'Connell can do that with Sam Darnold, it's not crazy to think that he can do some awesome stuff with JJ McCarthy. Moving on. Sunday, November 23rd, Steelers at noon, CBS. Gun to your head, who's the quarterback of the Steelers week 12 of this season?
I would guess Rodgers if he's healthy. If not, I think they'd be playing Will Howard because I know Will Howard is a 6th-round pick, and I don't think he's going to be some sort of long-term starter in the league. But I do like what I saw out of Will Howard, especially because he was objectively in the college football playoff the best player playing quarterback. So
man, I saw some stuff, just some funky stuff out of him. That combine was gross. I think he's a good idea, and that's about it.
Well, he's a 6th-round pick. There's a reason he was there.
Right, exactly. And also, I mean, yes, he would be starting over Mason Rudolph. And who's the third quarterback?
Mason Rudolph sucks.
He's so bad. Skylar Thompson. I think he's the other quarterback.
Oh, that's Dolphins legend Skylar Thompson, Mr. Man.
So I just don't see how, to the first question, I don't see how you don't, unless Rodgers just refuses and he's just doing ayahuasca somewhere. I don't know how he's not the quarterback.
You and me do ayahuasca in the dark.
And while, I mean, I like DK, again, just as a player, are the Steelers really, I mean, they have a good defense, but are the Steelers really going to be good next year?
And they've got one of the best head coaches to ever grace a field. That's true.
The lines, it's just, how do you score points? You have DK,
I don't know.
And then Calvin Austin and Robert Woods, and I mean, they got Caleb Johnson. That's fun.
Like, my guess, this game's going to be a rock fight, I feel like. It's just not, because that's what the Steelers do. Everything's a rock fight, and they somehow end up winning because the Steelers, the standard is the standard, and you do things Tomlin's way, and they've got the most expensive defense in the league. Like, I don't know. I think the Bears win. I just think it's not going to be a not pretty game.
Okay. I'm going to say it's a loss, not truly because I believe it, but because I need some losses in here.
Because you're drinking too much Kool-Aid.
And I think, yes, I'm having too much Kool-Aid. I mean, I do this every year, and I'm not going to do it. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, and he says, I still own you. Unfortunately, the Bears don't get their redemption there. And he just had, watch, it'll be a terrible year for the Steelers. They'll be like a one game below 500. Aaron Rodgers looks very mid, and then all of a sudden just fountain of youth when he gets, when he at Soldier Field. Just, it's going to happen.
All right. I feel like Philadelphia's going to massacre them.
Here's the thing, too. I hate the fact, I'm just going to put a loss for both of us. I hate the fact that this is on Black Friday, because I usually do this Goose Island BCS drop where my family and I go at all these places like all day long. So now I have to make a decision of like doing that or like watching this game. But fortunately, because they put it against the Eagles, at least, it makes that decision easier for me, because I just think they're going to get shellacked.
And I hate it because I can't stand Sirianni. He annoys me.
No, he sucks. There's nothing redeeming about him. So again, defending Super Bowl champs, they just get better, right? I mean, they had Jahad Campbell fall to them. They got Andrew Makuba, who was one of my favorite safety prospects. They just do smart, good. They signed Azeez Ojulari, which I think is going to be good on the outside for them. AJ Dillon as a backup running back, I think, is a perfect spell for Saquon Barkley if he can stay healthy. Kenyon Green, I mean, he still has something in there, I think, and even though he's had his troubles. And you add that to a team that was already very, very good.
I hate it here.
It's just this is the Baltimore conversation where there's just a different class, and the Eagles are it.
The Eagles do the thing where they just stick to the consensus big board do. They just take the best remaining football player, just like the Baltimore Ravens do. It's like, this guy fell. Fine, we'll take him.
Yeah, who'da thunk it? Picking good players works out pretty well. So then we're moving on. Sunday, December 7th at Green Bay, noon game on Fox. Thoughts? I'm gonna sound absolutely Looney Tunes. I think the Bears sweep the Packers this year. Damn it, that was gonna be my hot take. All right, well, put that there. I
don't think Jordan Love's good, or I shouldn't say that. I don't think he's good enough, and I think he plays the position like he's got talent, like he's Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers, just because I'm naming them, because they're Packers quarterbacks, out of they're similar stylistically. Yeah. And he just doesn't learn from his mistakes. The amount of back foot yeet balls that are just flung up there when he's under duress, he's good, if not very good, but I think we've already seen the peak of what Jordan Love can do. And it's kind of like realized Jay Cutler in a way, where it's like the top of him, when he's good or great on a given week, he looks like a fifth or sixth best quarterback in the league. But when he's bad, he looks awful. And it's like, why is he on the field?
And I get we have all the excuses of he got hurt in the first week and all that. I get it. It's hard to come back from that. I mean, that's literally my job is getting players like this back to what they do. So I'm there. I get it, but I agree. I think he's going to be that guy that oscillates year to year, where there's going to be that year where you have like, is he a top 5 quarterback conversation? And then he's going to, the next year he plummets right back down to, nah, he's like a, top 15 guy kind of a thing. Like that's just going to be who he is. And you continue unless, I mean, in terms of their additions for this year, like, did they get better? Again, you just have a bunch of guys. Christian Watson, Dontayvion Wicks is Dontayvion Wicks. Same. I like Jaden Reed. Romeo Dobbs just has never become the number 1 receiver and apparently needed to be coddled and said, hey, by the way, you're still number 1, even though we drafted Matthew Golden. But, like, does Matthew Golden really make your team that much better? Same with drafting Savion Williams. They've signed Aaron Banks, who is a very mid left guard. So their line didn't even really get, like, better. Their defense is pretty much the same besides bringing Isaiah Simmons and Nate Hobbs in. So with all that, it's just like, I don't think they really got better.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at this right now because I had them in my brain at 10 wins. And if it goes the way I was thinking it was going to go, I'm going to exceed that. So I think I have to say they're going to lose the gimme to the Browns. And that's not because of anything other than, I really do think Kevin Stefanski's a really good football coach.
I agreed. I think that's why he still has a job.
And that defense, that ain't nothing nice, man.
Yeah, so Okora's not going to be there this year, so that sucks for them.
Dude, it sounds like his career's done.
He might be done. But yeah, that defense though, you brought Carson Schwarzenegger in, you brought Mason Graham in. I still think Mason Graham's a good player. I think Mike Hall is going to make some noise this year too. He didn't play a lot last year for a variety of reasons.
From Ohio State.
But I think he's going to kind of step up. He just is a clay of potential there. And then you still have a bunch of other players consistently. The thing that's tough is Stefanski good enough to get, I don't know, whoever you want to say, whether it's Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, or Deshaun's basically dead. Is that going to be good enough?
Deshaun's basically dead.
He's basically football dead. Is that enough to make the receiving core? By the way, that includes Cedric Tillman, Jamari Thrash, Jerry Jeudy, and David Bell, and DeAndre Carter. Is that enough?
I don't know, but that's not the way. I think they're going to get way back to like what Stefanski was doing when they first had success there. Under a lot of like running and honestly, I don't think the Browns are a better football team, but you're going to lose some of these games that you expect to win.
It's a comment from Phil M. This is peak Bears fan offseason delusion. I love to hear these takes. It just makes the in-season crash even sweeter. Yes, there is a very high chance that I wouldn't say very high actually. There is a chance that this is peak delusion and there's a crash. However, every team that got better, take the Lions for example, they had an offseason like this where someone was sitting in a chat saying this is delusional, and then they did awesome Lions things. Like, it's got to start somewhere. Why not this year?
And we both can cover the Packers again. We both had them sweeping the Packers. That was a little take.
And I did have them beating the Browns. So I forgot to say that out loud.
You're going to have them like 11 wins, basically.
I know.
I think they're going to lose to San Francisco. Same thing. Shanny is Shanny.
Think about what they did last year to them. San Francisco just demolished them. And
Salah's back. And did you see what they did to their defensive line? Like, they just were we're going to overhaul this and be no more. No mas.
We got away from who we were. We are going to go back to who we were because they brought in, guys like Michael Williams, CJ West, Alfred Collins, all in the draft, like just peak awesome guys. They brought Trey Brown in to help with corner. So they were just done with being pushed around.
And Brock Purdy, for better or for worse, he's a pretty damn good football player. He has his quirks, but he plays well.
and you're going to have Christian McCaffrey in theory back healthy. You're going to be able to spell him with Isaac Orendo. They got one of my favorite running backs in the draft class, Jordan James, who's the peak. Like, can you get me 3 yards? I can get you 4. Can you get me 6 yards? I can get you 4. He's just going to
Jordan James hits. Jordan James is a gaps player. If you were to use a term from baseball, he's a gap power hitter. Like lots of doubles. And I loved Jordan James. Like it's not a sexy player to watch, and it's the antithesis of everything he typically drafts in the middle rounds for a running back. He always like takes Guarendo, where it's like his tape kind of sucks, but he's big and fast. You see him run? James is like, he's kind of small. He's not really fast, but he keeps getting 4 and 5 yards. Keeps doing that. Yeah. So it appears Mason's Wi-Fi had a surge. I'm texting him right now. It's like he's going to be coming right back. Hold, please. Welcome back.
Yeah, so my downstairs neighbor blew the fuse, so that was fun. All right, so that's probably a sign we need to move on a little quicker. So yeah, lost San Francisco, cool. Then you come back home against the Lions, which I know it's weird Saturday Sunday flex thing. I'd be blown away if they made the Bears go from the West Coast on Sunday to play a Saturday game. I think it'll be Sunday.
Probably. I think they split with the Lions, and this depending on how the year goes, this final game could have major implications.
Oh, huge! Which would be so cool to have meaningful football at the December, January.
8, 9.
Did you have the Lions? You had them beating the Lions earlier, right?
I think I had them losing earlier.
Oh, you had them losing. Okay, I couldn't remember which one it was. Sorry. So then you have them winning this one.
Yeah.
So then you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're at 10. Look at you. Good job. So 10 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they should win. Yeah, they have to win this game. I had them losing against Lions as well. I don't. Yeah, 10-7. Twinsies. We just got there in slightly different ways.
Yeah, slightly different ways. So be sure to come back mid-season and tell us how awful our predictions are. You know, I think this is a very attainable, realistic record. Again, you got the head coach, you got the quarterback, you revamped the whole offensive line. Like, you really should be competing for something at this point. No more moral victories. No, and I said this last year too. I hate moral victories. Like, win some damn football games.
Truly believe the range for this team is, I'll say 6 wins to 11 wins. Like, I know that's a really wide one, but that's because of the unknowns that exist there. We just talked about that earlier. We think Dennis Allen will have this defense at least average, if not potentially above. But, you know, what kind of play do you get out of like a Montez Sweat type, and do you get Tyreek Stevenson to turn the corner? Can Edmonds actually play like a, you know, actual football player and not just a athletic robot? And then the offense is the big question. You know, I know we poo-pooed the ESPN article earlier, as I believe we should. At the same time, you know, we've seen quarterbacks, unfortunately, have some scarification. If there's like a 6-win scenario, it's because,
is that a medical term?
It is. It's because Caleb has scars from last year. I don't think he's that dude who would carry that. And I think when you have the fresh start with Ben Johnson and the mentality that Ben Johnson brings, that would help Caleb, you know, get past that into like to who he's supposed to actually be. But I'm just saying, like, if the scenario that you have 6 wins is something like that. But as you said, Danny, this should be an 8 to 10 win team.
Yeah, you should. I think you should be pushing for a playoff spot, if not having the expectation of maybe even winning a playoff game. Like, I can't express this enough. Like, this is year 4 of this rebuild. These don't take this long anymore. Like, and you've got the quarterback prospect that everyone salivated over. You've got the coaching candidate that everybody freaking wanted. You've got the hardened, crusty, one of the statistical best play calling defensive coordinators on the other side implementing his defense. No more excuses, man.
At the end of the season, Danny, what do you expect? Like, if you had to rank this offensive line, if it stays healthy as you expect it to start week 1, I know with who you said Trapillo starting, where does, not even specific, where does this offensive line fall for you?
Middle of the pack.
Like the 15th overall.
Yeah, 15 to 18 in that realm.
And
that's good enough.
And then if you take that 15 to 18, and again, you add in the Ben Johnson effect, I think that's a very functional offensive line.
Right. And mind you, most of the metrics said, even if I disagree with them to some extent, the line was formidable enough last year. It's just the offense was broken, disjointed, discombobulated, whatever word you want to use to describe it.
None of it made sense. None of it played off of each other. The play action didn't feed into the run game and vice versa. The concepts were crazy.
God, that's an evergreen statement from every Bears offense I've ever watched.
And I know PFF only goes so far, so please take this with a grain of salt. But like, when it comes to offensive line stats, there's not a lot out there. I mean, you have, I'm going to say across the board, but they currently have listed. We said we don't think Jones is starting because of his injury. But yeah, Jones at the 21st overall tackle at 77. Tooney as the 7th best guard at 80. Dahlman is the 4th best center at 78.8. Jackson 67.6, probably the weak link because he didn't play much last year. And then Darnell Wright, 16th best tackle at 79.3. That's very, very doable. That's a very, you can work with that. And like you just said, Danny, that offense was so disjointed and broken from the concepts to the personnel usage. Like we were confused why Cole Kmet wasn't getting targets, why Keenan Allen was getting all of the targets, who had no juice left. DJ Moore was mentally checked out. DeAndre Swift couldn't run between the tackles to save his life. And unfortunately, they haven't fixed the running back position, but whatever.
Yeah. It's to quote John Fox, it's all a problem. It's all a problem.
Okay. One last question, then we're gonna get out of here.
Sure.
Who is leading the Bears in rushing yards? Who's leading in rushing touchdowns at the end of the year? Those two categories.
I don't think he's on the team yet.
So the person that's going to lead in both categories isn't on the team yet.
I don't think he's on the team yet.
Okay, cool.
Can I give you a bold prediction?
Sure.
I think your starting running back is either on the roster of Seattle or Denver right now.
You think man, I don't know. So what would you be okay with trading for a rental Kenneth Walker?
5th. I think that's fair.
I could get behind that.
And so, can you decide who the Denver back is? Because they just took RJ Harvey and Jamil McClain.
It couldn't be. Your estimate love is that strong. You're just willing him to the Bears.
Well, no, hear me out. Declan Doyle was his coach last year.
For the tight ends, but yes.
For the tight ends. Who is Ben Johnson clearly trying to emulate as head coach? Sean Payton.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's a prediction. I could see them flipping like a 5th or a 6th round pick to get Audric Estime to be the big bell cow because he's not DeAndre Swift. He is a between the tackles hammerhead.
Yeah.
And they don't have that. You all on Bears Twitter are fakes. None of you knew who goddamn Kyle Monangai was until they picked him.
I knew Kyle Monangai because you showed me Kyle Monangai.
I was Kyle Monangai stan before any of you existed. He is not a starting NFL running back.
But he's fun.
He is fun, and he runs hard as hell. But to answer your question, I don't think he's on the team yet. If you had to tell me right now, this is the running back room. Yards, probably DeAndre Swift. Touchdowns, probably the one guy because of vulture him.
Yeah, I would agree.
I just don't think that guy's on the team yet.
I just have a hard time thinking the Seahawks will make that trade. I don't know if I trust the Chubb knee, so I fall to like a J.K. Dobbins maybe.
Ugh.
I know.
Ugh.
But if you told me the Seahawks wanted to flip Kenneth Walker, I would do it. I think they do. Great. Sign me up. I'll do a 5th for the rental, and then you see how this year goes. If he does that great, you try to throw him you can talk about extending him if you.
I think honestly, what I think.
Not you let him walk. What do I think? Back next year.
Do you think what I think his extension number would be? I think it'd be like almost identical to the DeAndre Swift deal, just percentage cap wise. That's a deal. So you get rid of DeAndre Swift to replace him effectively just DeAndre Swift's cap number. I would absolutely do that. As much as I like the lightning-y running back, I need my stable running back, and I can add the other one in. I can't go the other way. I'm not going to sit here and say Kenneth Walker is stable because he's not. He is at any given point top 5 in explosive runs and bottom 5 or top 5 in negative runs. But very Seattle offensive line was terrible. Sure. Oh, absolutely, Mason. I'm just letting you know, his highlights and Kenneth Walker's highest of highs are awesome. He is also on the ground in the backfield an awful lot. I mean, you're Cross and Lucas. You're hoping take a step forward. Lucas especially, he was bleh. And then you got your guy Gray Zabel's there. That's the thing. Can FCS Gray Zabel fix you? Sure. Why not? Anyway, we went longer than I expected with that running back conversation, but I love running backs. I just want them to have a good one. God damn it. That's all we got. Any closing thoughts? You just had it. Was my prediction. I don't think the running back's on the team yet. Yeah, I would agree with that. So, wait for the August 12th signing of insert player here or trade of her player here. Bussington, aka Gus Edwards. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining in. I know this is a silly exercise. It's obviously laced with Kool-Aid and all that jazz, but if we don't have that, what do we have? So bear down. The power of friendship.